Good. Welcome, everyone. Give me a second. There we go. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar, Bouncing Back Better. This is it's the third webinar as part of our Warrior Goddess Witchy series. So if you were part of the series, yay! We'll leave some time at the end because I'd love to hear your experiences with it. If you are just coming on to Bouncing Back Better now and you haven't done Warrior Goddess Witchy or anything else ever, you're in the perfect time, perfect place. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Heather Ashamara. I'm the author of Warrior Goddess Training and 8 other books, working on a new book called, tentatively, Wild, Willing, and Wise. And I just started my Substack yesterday called Out of the Fire. So that just got released as well. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you today and to be exploring as we moved through our Warrior Goddess Witchy challenge. For those of you that were part of it, I was really feeling into how do we bring that sense of magic and creativity and connection to our power through times when we're really challenged? How do we bounce back better? That even when we feel like we've splatted, I used to call, well, I still do, when I get really, really, really exhausted or have a big emotional upheaval, I call it a pixie splat. So, and each of us has some version of a pixie splat where we just feel crushed or smushed. And there's that, I don't want to do anything. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. And then how do we, from those places where we are the most confused, disheveled, stuck, traumatized, how do we then use the experience, whatever the experience is, or not even use the experience? I don't want to say it that way. I more want to say, how do we find the resources? That's a better way to say it. How do we find the resources to move through whatever we're navigating so that we are more in touch with ourselves, so that we're more loving to ourselves, that we're more connected to a feeling sense of wholeness and peace inside of ourselves? So for me, that word better is not a great word. So let's talk about that first. Bouncing is a great word. We'll talk about bouncing too. Better implies that there's a worse. And so I'm always in the work that I'm doing, wanting to get beyond the binary of better, worse, good, bad, right, wrong. However, the word better is a good alliteration with bouncing. So that's why I used it. And it gives us a picture of what we mean, that there's this feeling sense that we're coming out. So what I'll start using some other words for better, that we're coming out of any type of situation more resilient, more loving, more compassionate, more present, more able to speak our truth, clearer about what our needs are, more present in our lives. So, and the idea of bouncing is about being resilient, being flexible, being able to have a challenge or someplace that we're stuck and move ourselves out of it. So yeah, brighter, Tammy, thank you. Bouncing back brighter. So let's list a bunch of words. What do you want to bounce back to? Bouncing back more confident, bouncing back more free, bouncing back with more patience, more beautiful, energetic, alive, joyful, happier, balanced. Bouncing back happier, I love it. Bouncing back buoyant, nice. Bouncing back with excellent vitality and health, bouncing back grounded, joyous, balanced, grounded, hopeful, optimistic. Bouncing back with bounce, authentic. Yeah, bouncing back with purpose, with a sense of direction. That's a nice one. I like that. Bouncing joyful, mindful, at ease. These are great. Great. Bouncing back into oneness. Beautiful. Mata Prami. That's great. Bouncing back into joy and peace. Bouncing back into authenticity. Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right. And the idea of bouncing also implies or brings with it something that is full. So if you think about a ball, that if you're going to bounce a ball, that it bounces best when it's full. And so let's start there in our exploration of how to bounce back into all of these beautiful things that you have been sharing. Hope, love, yeah, authenticity. So each of us, one of the things that is a foundational piece of the work that I do in Warrior Goddess training and really in all the programs that I do is about learning how to work with ourselves from an energetic perspective. So many of us have a lot of stories and agreements and identifications of who we're supposed to be. And for those of you that are new, this is one of the, for those of you that have been around for a while, I repeat this over and over again because it's so critical. And for those of you that are new, one of the things that I've noticed as I've been in relationship with myself and teaching other humans for many years is that we often create this image of perfection of who we think we're supposed to be. And then we spend much of our energy comparing ourselves to that image of perfection. And that image of perfection is created by not just our idea of who we're supposed to be, but what also goes into that image of perfection is this idea of what other people think we should be. So it's really a collage in a way, or like a mosaic of a lot of different people's opinions of who they think we should be. And it's not consistent. People have different ideas of who they think we should be. And so, you know, who your peers thought you should be versus who your parents thought you should be versus who your church thought you should be, all of those may be incredibly different. Okay. And there's something that we call the first attention. The first attention is the way that we learn to put our attention in the world. So it's the places where we say, this is what the world is supposed to be like. This is who I'm supposed to be like. And it's all learned. It's things that we learned from the outside that we think is the only way the world is. So one of the things around the first attention is that it's the current viewpoint from your family perspective or from your church perspective or from your peer perspective when you're a kid, that the foundation is what you've been told it's supposed to look like, of what your life looks like, and who you are supposed to be in the world. I'm going to turn off the chats, love, because I just realized there we go. I will answer questions. Go ahead and chat away. Like, please chat away. I just want you to know I'm turning it off for a minute because I've been driving all day and I just realized my attention is getting a little scattered. So I want to stay present with you. So that place of first attention is, this is how I think this world is supposed to be. This is what I learned. The second attention is when we start realizing, oh, there's a lot of different ways I can be in the world. You know, first attention would be if your family was like, you need to be a doctor. That's what you need to be. That's your life path, is being a doctor. And let's say you go through med school and then you start meeting other friends and you realize, wait a minute, there's a gazillion choices of who I could be in the world. I don't need to be a doctor. And at that point, you then start capturing your own attention and start deciding who you want to be. What's the world you want to create? How do you want to craft your life? Okay. So this idea of bouncing is really about finding the places where, because of the ideas of who we think we're supposed to be, we've poked holes in our own being. So those holes are places where we leak our energy, where we criticize ourselves, where we judge ourselves, where we compare ourselves, where we feel victimized by the world. So we tend to not have fullness. We're looking outside of ourselves for something else, including the perfect person. Hi, I did read that. Okay. It's outside. What I encourage you to do is become the perfect person for you, and don't worry about the perfect person out there. They will come. So it's all the places where we're looking outside of ourselves and trying to be something else for somebody else, or fit a role or a mold. And every time we react out of fear or being competitive or jealousy or envy or resentment, we're poking a hole in this ball, this emotional, energetic ball of our being, and we lose energy. And so most of us don't bounce well because we don't have enough energy. We're not full in a good way of compassion and love and presence for ourselves. So in order to come into a place where we can be resilient and authentic and joyful and present and compassionate in our relationship with self and others, we want to start by patching the holes of this being that we are, because we are not just a physical body. We are an energetic body. We're an energetic being. And that energetic being is, you can visualize it as a sphere around us, and that our energy permeates our body completely. And it also goes out about, if you put your arms up, that's about how big your energy body is. Everyone just put your arms up and just feel and kind of trace. So that's about what your energetic being is. And when we are in a healed, healthy relationship with ourselves, our energy flows naturally and fills our energetic being. And that natural flow of energy that comes from our center and goes out naturally keeps things that aren't ours to carry away. So other people's emotional content, other people's projections of who we should be, other people's energy. Naturally, we don't take on other people's stuff. Okay. And we also don't then feel that need to, I have to fix this person, or I have to be this something for this other person. We're naturally letting our authentic light move out through us. And there's this beautiful centering that happens. And you can imagine that as we get more and more full, and we start to see where we leak energy and start to close the holes, literally patch the holes, because that's what we're doing with our energies. We're learning how to patch the holes of places where we leak energy. Then we get full. And in that fullness, we naturally are bouncier. We bounce back from things more quickly. It's just a natural response. And again, if you think about a ball that doesn't have enough air in it, or that has holes in it, and you try and bounce it, it thuds. It doesn't bounce very well. Okay. And actually trying to bounce it, like trying to come back, makes it even flatten out even more. Whereas if you have a ball that is full, where there aren't holes, where there's energy moving out in a way to create this integration and this wholeness, then that being is very bouncy. So something happens and they're able to recover much more quickly. Okay. So this idea of being bouncy, of being resilient, doesn't mean you never have challenges in your life. So just because you've patched the holes, you're full, you're self-loving, it doesn't mean there are challenges in your life. Okay, there's still going to be challenges. And we recover more quickly from those challenges. And we know that we need to gather tools and resources and support and guidance to help us move through things. Okay, in all the different areas of our lives as well. So I'm going to pause and now go check the chat. All right, so. Oh, that's hilarious. Thanks, Shirley. I just saw the first part. You are the perfect person. Okay, question. How does one claim back the eyes of first attention if it is lacking? Because this makes me think why I'm experiencing so much pain in my life. When you spoke about your idea of ball bouncing, it made me feel incomplete, like I seem to have lost grounding because I simply feel lacking the first attention, like a child that lacks like that names objects, hey tree, hey ball, hey, like I'm somewhere else, ungrounded, spacey. Okay, so beautiful, beautiful question. And it's not that we want to reclaim the first attention. We want to move into the second attention, okay? So the first attention, what we want to do is get curious about what did we learn from other people that's causing there to be leaks in our ball, in the container of our being, okay? And so, yeah, so you shared there's this feeling sense of being ungrounded, of being spacey. So what we want to start to explore is, where am I leaking energy? And where we can see where we're leaking energy is from the thoughts that we're having and the stories that we're holding, is from the places that we react emotionally, where we have big emotional reactions to things, is the places where we've really armored our heart or armored our being, so there isn't a flow of energy. And in places where we have an expectation of who we're supposed to be that we're not living up to. Okay, so we can start to look for and get curious about, what am I doing in relationship with my container now? And there's two pieces for this I want to talk about. So the first part is, let's all brainstorm and go ahead and toss in the chat, where's a place that you leak energy? And it may be something that you learned when you were a child. And for example, you may have always felt as a child that you were going to get rejected unless you fit in, or had a fear of not being heard. Okay. And it may be something, yeah, exactly, Diane, thank you, that you realize, oh, every time I try to figure it all out and feel like I'm supposed to have it all figured out, that causes me to leak energy. That pokes a hole in the energetic container of my being, and I leak energy. So what else? Go ahead and throw some things in the chat. Squeezing the world out of place. Self-doubt, not pretty enough, fear of abandonment, left home at 14, caretaking, yeah, exactly. People pleasing and being seen but not heard, beautiful. Feeling like I'm not enough, or feeling my dreams are naive, yeah, thank you. Doing things the right way or only way, wanting to fix people, over excitement, when I see other people hurting, so that's where you leak energy. And you want to look at this. So why? Always see if you can put a why at the end of your sentence. Okay. So I leak energy when I see other people hurting. A lot of us, this is a familiar thing, but let's ask ourselves, why? Why do you leak energy? So just ponder that for a second and go ahead and share. Feeling like I'm not doing enough, when I'm out of alignment or out of balance, exactly. Advocating for others. And then Mata Prem, like, where are the places that you go out of alignment or out of balance? What causes you to go out of alignment or be out of balance? Yeah, Lynn Marie, making myself small to fit in, being out of my body. And there's another Linda, why? What causes you to disassociate, to get curious? And the attitude we want is curiosity. This is really important. So again, if you think about this energetic being that we are, if you're curious, then you're able to look at the leak and be like, huh, okay, there's energy leaking there. There's a feeling sense of depletion, of exhaustion, of overwhelm, of needing to please everyone. And if you then look at that through the lens of your judge, of I shouldn't have that, or I can't believe that's happening. If we go into blame or shame or guilt, we're poking more holes. So you're actually you're not patching the hole. If you immediately go into guilt about something, or blame or shame, you're poking a hole. Okay, so a trigger of where you leak energy, when someone says you can't expect other people to care about your feelings, not being present, someone else's negativity. Why? Because pain is easier to deal with when I'm in control. Good. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. Why leaking energy? Because I don't accept reality as it is. Yeah. A lot of it boils down to that. So we'll talk about, how do we accept, how do we get more bouncy by having more acceptance, having more compassion, having more patience. Yeah. worrying about what too much about what others think of me. Yeah. Other people, so somebody wrote their husband, someone else's negativity, not being present, overextending, too much ego. Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that I look at that can be helpful is this idea that each of us has these core agreements, and there's really not that many core agreements that we have as humans that I've noticed. So often our core agreements are, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, or I'm broken. Okay, so just check if any of the agreements that you just wrote fits in with any of those. It may not, which is totally fine. Okay, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm broken. And often those core agreements, yeah, or all of the above, yeah, those core agreements then start to kind of splinter and create all these other agreements. Yeah, yeah, I'm too much. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, and again, we get these agreements. I think we come in with them because of the dream of the planet, which I'm not going to talk about this time, but there's a whole way that we are energetically impacted by what's happening around us. And we take on agreements that aren't really ours, but because we now have them, they're ours to clean up. Okay. So the other thing that we can look at that can help put this into a framework is the idea of strategies, that there's 4 main strategies. So here's what I think of is that we have these core beliefs that then in order to kind of manage our lives, we start creating strategies. And the strategies they all have strengths, but most of the time we're using the weak, they're causing us to leak energy. Okay. They're causing us to connect to the parts of them that keep us brittle. Okay. So those 4 strategies, and just see if any of these resonate with you as well, are pleaser, isolator, controller, or distractor. And you may have many of them. Okay. But none of these strategies help us bounce because they all cause us to leak energy. Even though they seem like they're helping, they're actually hindering. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So that's the first curiosity and query that we want to bring in order to understand this idea of where we're poking holes, and to understand that it's not a quick fix. Okay, it's going to take time to patch the holes because some of the holes that we have are very old core agreements that we've been carrying for a really long time that were probably passed to us from our parents. Okay, from our ancestry, from our lineage, from our experiences when we were very young. And so it takes time to learn how to patch the holes, but you patch one of them and you're going to become more resilient. You patch another one, you're going to find yourself a little bit more bouncier. So it's cumulative. It's not like you have to patch everything and then you're whole and then you're good to go. You want to learn really what happens is as you start patching them, you get more resilient. You get bouncier. You start to have more compassion for yourself. You start to be able to hold yourself more steady when challenges happen. And when it's hard to hold yourself steady or when it's an extra big challenge, you know to get help. You know to go get support. There isn't, I have to do this by myself. What also helps us be bouncy is knowing that we have support, that we have tools. And when we have a good community, when we have people that are on a similar spiritual and healing journey, then we get more resilient because we also are then learning from each other. It's incredibly, incredibly beautiful. Okay. So that's one thing, is looking for the old agreements of where we have holes, of where we're leaking. So dunk, 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 patching the holes. And how we patch the holes is we pull our energy back from the beliefs and agreements. So then there is an energy going out. And then we hold ourselves with compassion. We bring in love in those places where there was fear. Because really that's if we look at the fundamental, what's the rewire that we're doing? Fear to love. Okay. It's not that simple, but it is that simple. Because when we respond to things from love, even if it's really challenging, we get more bouncy, flexible, resilient, present. We have a sense of humor, even when things are really challenging. And we're patient with ourselves, okay, and persistent. Viv, good questions. Can we change or end the friggin' agreements? Yes, we can. And it takes awareness. It takes learning how to witness where the agreements are. It takes clearing out the judge and the victim of the agreements. And that's where most of us get in trouble, is that we see an agreement, then we judge ourselves about the agreement. And then the energy that would go towards changing the agreement is now going into the judgment or the guilt or the shame or the blame. And so we don't have the resources available to change the agreement. So it's absolutely possible, but we need to rewire how we're in relationship with ourselves in order to do that. There's a big rewiring process that we need to do. And that's why I love gathering tools to help us do that rewiring, because it's not a one-step thing. We need the right tools, and we can think about to remodel the house. Okay, if you have a house that's been really neglected, that the paint's peeling, the foundation's kind of rocky because it wasn't built properly in the first place, that's what we're doing, is we're going in and kind of jacking the house up and redoing the foundation and then doing the rest of the rebuild. It's a big project. And if you have the right people helping you, it's possible. Okay. But if you're in a community or a family or in your own mind, which so many of us are, where you're constantly judging or feeling judged or getting triggered constantly or feeling victimized, it's very difficult to change things. We have to change our own attitude and have a support system in order to do this at the level that I'm talking about. Because we can patch things temporarily and feel better for a little bit, like a good chocolate chip cookie feels like it's patching the hole, right? Or a relationship where you fall in love for a little bit and it feels like the hole's patched, but it's temporary. Anything you do from the outside is going to be temporary. Okay. We need to learn how to stabilize it from the inside, where we're actually changing our wiring so that instead of leaking, we are shining and there's a container that's holding us because we've cleaned up and changed our relationship to ourselves and to others. Okay. Yeah. And all of those agreements, I'm broken, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm not lovable, they're all lies. They're not true. Okay, so let's be really clear. Faulty foundation, not true. They're not true. And it takes tools and skills to undo those. All right, so the other things that I wanted to talk about, the other piece that I wanted to talk about is this idea of being full and giving ourselves permission to have joy, to be compassionate, to forgive, to not need to caretake and please everyone else. There's a level of we need to give ourselves permission to heal, to be powerful, to be happy. And so often we haven't given ourselves permission because we're so busy trying to fix ourselves. So to bring in this new connection to ourselves, where we let go of, I must fix myself so I can be happy. I must make sure everybody else is happy around me so I can feel okay. I can't be joyful if other people are suffering. All of that are places that we're leaking energy and we're actually not helpful to ourselves or to anyone else. So let's do a quick exercise. So I'm going to close your eyes for a moment. Bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly. Good. And bring your awareness to your heart and feel something that you really appreciate. So imagine something that you really appreciate, that you love, that you're grateful for in your life. And it can be anything. It might be the sunset that you saw last night. It may be your grandchild. It may be a book that you read that really inspired you, that lit you up. So feel something that you appreciate, that you feel gratitude for. Find that feeling sense in your heart. Good. And then let go of whatever stimulated that feeling sense. So if you were thinking about your dog and how much you love your dog and how grateful you are for your dog, say thank you to your dog and just let the dog image dissolve and then just feel the feeling. So what we're practicing is cultivating that feeling sense of appreciation and love and gratitude in our heart and noticing what it feels like. That's you generating that feeling. You are generating that feeling. Something else might have stimulated that feeling in your body, but that's you. You're creating that. So just rest into that for a moment. Breathe into it. That feeling sense of gratitude, of appreciation, of love. And now imagine that that's like the center of a really beautiful sun, and that you're going to shine that gratitude and that appreciation through your body and bring that sense of gratitude and appreciation through your physical body. So imagine that you're radiating it out through your physical body. Imagine yourself with this beautiful sun radiating from your heart and then radiating out to the edge of your energy field. You can imagine that energy going all the way out to the edge of your energy field. And imagine that you have a beautiful permeable bubble around you, and that light, that warmth from your heart is radiating out to the edge of your bubble, this permeable membrane. Beautiful. Good. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and keep that feeling sense. So can you keep that feeling sense as you open your eyes? Good. So bouncing back into more joy, more happiness, more authenticity, more clarity is about learning tools and techniques to fill ourselves up. And then the patience and the perseverance and the witnessing, the discernment and the vulnerability. So to find these qualities, to learn how to build these qualities inside of us, just like we built that energy inside of us of gratitude, we learn how to inside of us build the qualities of forgiveness towards ourselves, of compassion towards ourselves, of presence and patience, of discerning. And discernment is such a beautiful word. Discernment is about what's mine and what's not mine. And without judgment, to be able to discern how we want to interact with other people, how we want to be in a relationship with ourselves. Judgment, when we live our lives from judgment, there's a lot of energy loss when we're judging, whether we're judging ourselves or judging anybody else, we lose a lot of energy. But when you discern, because there's an emotional content to judgment, there's often a big story around why you're judging or whose fault it is. And when we're discerning, it's just simply, that doesn't work for me. Oh, I'm losing energy there. Okay. We can witness ourselves. And from that witnessing, we now have the energy to start to patch the holes, because we're curious, we're open, we're wondering. And so that allows us to have more energy to listen to what do we need at depth in order to bring ourselves back into wholeness, in order to find our authenticity, our joy, our healing. Okay. Long-term project. It's a long-term project, but it doesn't have to be heavy. And this is part of the thing I love about our community, is that I've learned, and it was something I learned, to bring in humor. I used to be incredibly serious and incredibly judgmental towards myself, and really felt like I needed to do things perfectly and beat myself up a lot and had a lot of judgment, a lot of negative self-talk. And as I started doing this work of finding my heart again and undoing those old foundational beliefs of I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm broken, like those places, I'm going to be abandoned, those old, deep, deep, deep ones that all of us carry, as I started turning to face them, because this is the thing, the healing happens when when we learn the skill set of turning towards rather than running away from or compensating. Because what many of us do is we compensate, we pile things on top of those old wounds. So if you can imagine that you have these places where you have these wounds that are like kind of rips in the fabric of your being, where there's a ton of energy leaking out, and then you pile judgment on top of it, and then you pile trying to be perfect. Now you've got this weighted ball that's leaking. It doesn't go so well. Okay. Instead, we want to pull off the judgment and the fear and the comparison, like all the places that we're using everything in our world against ourselves. We want to clear all those out. That's first step. Then we can more easily see the holes, and they're much easier to patch. Okay. So I'm going to share one of my favorite tools of how to do this. I have spent, I think, 35 years now gathering tools from many different traditions around the world, and tools that are applicable. I'm a super practical person, that I have a deep connection to spirit, and my passion is around finding tools that help us all get free, that help us to clear out those old agreements and beliefs, that help us to patch our holes so that we are resilient and bouncy and playful and joyful and can be really creative when something happens. Because that's really where we want to get to. What makes us the most bouncy, we can say, is when something happens and it might have an impact on us. And then we're like, all right, what needs to happen here? How can I be creative? How can I bring play into here? What support do I need? That we come back listening to what we need and knowing that we've got a gazillion tools available to us. And that if we're not sure what tool to use, that we have also a community of people that are holding us. Okay, that's what makes us the most resilient and bouncy, is tools, community, unconditionally present, loving community to help us stabilize being unconditionally loving towards ourselves. All right, so my favorite tool, those of you that have been hanging out with me, you've probably heard this one because I share it a lot, because it's such a good one. It's super simple. So many of the agreements and beliefs that we have, how do we stop them? One of the ways is we recognize when we have a story running or an agreement. And a story is like, an agreement is, I'm not good enough. Okay, that's something that we've agreed to, even if we took it on from somebody else or from experience. If we're believing it, we've agreed to it, we're holding it. And I think often of agreements is like we're holding the hand of something. And every agreement we've ever made takes energy. So there's all of these energetic leaks that are happening. And what we can witness, the agreement or the feeling sense, you don't have to have the exact agreement, but the feeling sense, I'm not worthy, let's say. The story that comes from that is, let's say that you're in a relationship and somebody ends the relationship and goes off and is with somebody else pretty quickly. That's just information. I mean, that's just like what happened. But if we have, I'm not worthy, the story is they left me because I wasn't good enough and everyone else is better than me in the world. And I'm not going to compare myself to the person that they picked and see what I'm like, find all my faults and hold it up against this other person. And I'm now going to go back through the relationship and look at all the places where I did things wrong and where I wasn't worthy. And then I'm going to look at the rest of my life at the places where I was rejected. So that's the story. We start creating all these stories of experiences, but also I'm not worthy because I was rejected by my parents. Okay, so that's the story. So there's an agreement, and then there's a story that gets created around the agreement that we use to keep the agreement in place, basically. So most of the time with our minds, and you can check this out in your own mind, we have a tremendous amount of run-on sentences. So the sentence is, I'm not worthy. And then there's all this content about why. I don't meditate enough. I just got rejected by my ex. I, failed that job interview 20 years ago. Like So the moment that you notice yourself judging yourself or judging yourself because you're judging yourself or feeling victimized, put a period in the sentence, because all that's run-on sentence, period. The moment you see it, put a period in. Okay, and then take a breath. And that period is you filling the hole. It's stopping the leak. It's temporary, but it's you filling the hole for a moment so you can catch your breath and come back to your own center. And it's going to then start up again, probably. And you're going to put a period again and come back to your center and breathe. And that's a really powerful place to start. Okay, so very simple, very powerful place to start. Period. Take a breath, grab your own attention, and then choose where do you want to put it? Where do you want to put your attention now? Don't let it go down that leak. Come back into your heart, come back into the present, tell yourself the truth. Pick up a tool, whatever that tool is. Find somebody that can support you. There's so many resources that we have available to us, but we need the support in stabilizing them. Yeah, you're so welcome. So yeah, so good question, Shirley. While we're going through the process of filling and patching, is it helpful to pull away from the leaky situation to heal? It can be, and it might be running away. So you get to feel into which it is. And it's really based on your intent. So, there's been situations where I've had a really difficult relationship situation and I've chosen to stay because I can see a way to use it to help heal myself. Doesn't mean it's easy, but because my intent is staying and fixing something, I'm using it to support myself. And there's been other times that I've left situations because I'm like, I'm just constantly triggered. This is not helping me heal. So there's no right answer to it. And this is why it's so important too, that we have a container and a circle of other people that are helping to hold us. Because imagine this, we have so much power on our own to help stop the leaks and to contain ourselves. When you have a circle that's supporting you, that helps to bring more energy into the system, and it's easier to make change. And it's also easier to get clear about what am I doing? What is my intent? Where do I want to put my energy? And so those choices of do I stay or do I go become easier because we're clearer about where we are in our journey and what would be the most helpful. Yeah. Beautiful. Susan, I feel a wall when I meditate and ask to be shown where my trauma first came from. Beautiful. There's one visualization that walks you down a flight of stairs and I cannot do it. There's no fear. and I can visualize the numbers and count down, but I can't mentally walk down the stairs. Yeah, sometimes, sometimes what you need then is somebody to walk with you. Okay, places that we can't go ourselves, that we don't know how to go, that we're scared. We need other people. We need support. We need somebody holding our hand, or a group of people that are holding our hand. Okay? So for me, community is so, so important. And I am a super introvert. I spend a lot of time by myself. And I am one of the biggest cheerleaders around community, because I've seen how much more quickly we change when we're held. Yeah, it has to be in a like-minded community that's doing similar work. So I want to take a couple minutes. At the end, I'm going to do a drawing. I keep forgetting to do drawings, but we're going to do a drawing at the very end of this, and we'll do a quick visualization, advice to help move stagnant, dense energy. How about I'll do that at the end, Kat, to help us be bouncy. And I want to take a few minutes to share about a program that we have coming up. I've been talking about it in the email. So those of you that are part of my newsletter list, you've been probably seeing the emails come through. And those of you that are not, please feel free to join the email list. And also to learn more about this program. So it's called Journey of the 9 Moons. And this next round that we're doing, it's a 9-month circle of really strong support. Many, many tools, a really beautiful container that's held by both the facilitators and more mentors and myself, as well as by the community and the people that are drawn to it. I think about it as a 9-month rebirthing. So it's a complete rewiring of our being, so that instead of being what many of us are, we're either very armored and we don't let love in or support or guidance, or we're very sponge-like, where we're taking in other people's energy and trying to fix everyone else. We don't have a strong center. So to find this place of, and yes, of course, old members can participate, check in with hello@warriorgoddess.com. Whoop. And we want to take down the armoring, and there's tools to take the armoring down in a safe way, in a methodical way. And there's also ways to build our energy system up that we're not taking on other people's emotional and energetic content, or constantly trying to fix or change people, or get them to fix or change us, okay, which is the other thing that we can do. So what Journey of the 9 Moons does is it gives us a pathway for healing, for wholeness, for learning how to fill from the inside and patch the leaks, so that the patching holds, that it's not temporary, it actually holds, because we're rewiring our being. And we need time to do that, which is why it's a 9-month process. And 9 months is a birthing cycle, so that seems very appropriate. It is also, there's broken into 3 trimesters is how I think about it. And the first trimester is around reclaiming our intent, which is our commitment, our focus, our clarity, our discernment in our relationship to self and others. And also learning how to be really present, so we're no longer abandoning ourselves, because that's one of the biggest issues that almost all of us have, is we tend to abandon ourselves because of this image of perfection of who we think we're supposed to be, rather than being with who we are and healing from the inside. We're often trying to fix from the outside. The second trimester is around inspiration, around bringing more energy into our system. Okay, so we can think about it this way. The first trimester is about clearing out the gunk that's on top of all the holes, we can say, like getting more clarity about what we're navigating in our lives from a place of discernment. And then the second 3 months is about then starting to patch the holes and bring more energy in. And there's so many amazing tools. Just to name one of those tools, there's a practice that we teach people around looking at where we're carrying forward energy from our lineages, from our ancestors, places where we have old energy that's really not ours. We teach you how to release that and how to be in right relationship with your ancestors, so they're guides and allies rather than weights. We also teach a practice in the first 3 months. That's the second 3 months. In the first 3 months, that's called recapitulation, which is about gathering your energy from the past and having it present here. It's one of my favorite tools. And that's just 2. There's like a gazillion. Third trimester is about intuition. It's about opening up our capacity to receive information and guidance and to get clear. So we're not acting from our strategy, we're acting from our intuition. Okay. We also, in that trimester, one of the powerful teachings is around how to be in relationship with our authentic voice, how to speak our truth from a place of calm, present, how to make boundaries, how to let go of attachment. That's another big piece as well. So if you have been getting the emails about Journey of the 9 Moons, go ahead and check them out some more. And we can put the link of how you can sign up if you're interested. It is so healing. And we also have, it's like such a powerful program that people that have done it before often come back and do it again, because it's every time you go through it, there's more transformation. I love going through the journey. I go through the journey every time that I teach it and share it, because it is a pathway, and it's incredibly helpful to have the pathway, the tools, and the support. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at hello@warriorgoddess.com. I'll also stay on afterwards to answer any questions that you might have. I would really love to be on this journey with you. It's a closed circle, so we close it for the 9 months so that we get to be really intimate and work with each other and feel that sense of support and being known. And there's really nothing like it. It's very transformative from the inside out. Yeah, thank you. All right, so advice to help move stagnant, dense energy. So let's do that. We'll close with that in a moment. Hi, Beverly. My next 9 months are very busy with work. Will you offer again? Would love to join when I can give 100%. We will be offering it again. The this particular version of it, I'll just say what we're doing now is we're changing the versions of it basically, and this one's really special. So just, you know, if it works better for you to take it later, yes, we will offer it at a different time. It'll just be slightly different, and I may not be part of it in the same way. Actually, I won't be part of it in the same way. Probably I'm gonna start pulling myself out of the teaching. Serena and we've got other mentors that are starting to step in. So okay, good. Perfect. Thanks for sharing that from Zaza. So one of the things that is different about this one that I'm really excited about is that I'm in the process of writing this new book. It's going to be coming out in 2024. And I'm close to having it done. It's going through the final edit right now. That's called Wild, Witchy, Wise. The book's called Wild, Willing, Wise. And we're blending that yumminess from the books, so these new teachings, with the Warrior Goddess Circle, this Journey of the 9 Moons. So it's going to be very dynamic and sparky and fun. So even more so than it usually is. So that, for those of you that are like, I don't know if this is a good time, it's a good time. And why do I say that? Because it's way too easy to put things off. Because how many of us have said, how many of us have like, I'm going to start exercising. And then a year later, you're like, oops, life pulled me away. So just be mindful that there's lots of ways that we can distract ourselves or get buried by things that are not helping us heal, that are actually causing us to leak more energy. And that this program is a systematic, bite-sized way to create change every week. There's short videos, there's live courses, and all in all, it takes about, I'd say an hour and a half is like a week, broken into different chunks. And everything is recorded. So there's also people that do Journey of the 9 Moons that do binging, which is really fun too, where you sit down and take 4 hours and go through for the videos and some of the teachings and just integrate in that way. So yes. All right, babe. Thank you. Let's do our closing. And we're going to do a little visualization around this idea of moving stagnant, dense energy. Again, if you have any questions about Journey of the Nine Moons or any of the other programs that we have coming up, please feel free to reach out to us at hello@warriorgoddess.com. I'll stay afterwards as well and answer any questions that you might have. All right, so one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Good. And this is a beautiful tool that you can use around moving stagnant or stuck energy. So drop into your body, just feel into your body for a moment and just ask the wisdom of your body. Your body has tremendous wisdom. Ask the wisdom of your body, where is there stagnation or stuckness in my body? And it might be anywhere. It might be in your heart. It might be in your belly. Mine's in my knees. It might be in your throat. You might be like, oh yeah, I'm having a hard time speaking up around something. Yeah, that stuckness is in my throat. Or it might be in your belly where you're not listening to your gut intuition in some way, or you're scared. So just get curious about, where is there a place of stuckness or stagnation in your body? And then just let yourself feel it for a minute, and without any story. You're just going to go into the feeling sense of wherever that stagnation or stuckness is. No story, just notice. My throat feels tight. I feel a heaviness, or my belly feels constricted and that there's a bowling ball in it, or my chest feels like there's pressure on it. Whatever it is, just notice. No story, just witnessing, curiosity. And then imagine bringing a beautiful fire, a beautiful healing fire to that area and shining it at that area just with your love, and asking that area, what does it need? What movement or sound or action would help create more bounce in you? Okay. Asking the wisdom of your body, just get really curious. What attitude or action, sound or movement would help move that stagnation? We're not talking about fixing, we're just talking about moving it, just creating some spaciousness. Good. And just taking note of that. When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. That was just a quick drop in. And that's the pathway, is to drop in, to feel what's happening, to not try to avoid it, but to feel, to bring a little bit of light to it. And then ask the wisdom of your body, what's my next action? What sound needs to happen here? What touch? What movement? Like what movement might help? And then what action? Little baby steps. Okay. Good. So we're going to close this session. I'll hang out for a little bit after we stop the recording, if any of you have questions or shares. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope I get to see some of you in the upcoming Journey of the Nine Moons. We have a really remarkable circle that's coming together for this next journey. And if you need more information, you can check out the website, which is journey.warriorgoddess.com, or email us at hello@warriorgoddess.com. And also check out the email. So if you're not part of the newsletter list, please go to warriorgoddess.com and put yourself in so that you can get our specials and weekly newsletter that comes out. Thanks so much, sweet ones. Really good to see all of you here. And I always like to do this to close, is that we're going to unmute everybody just for a second. If you want to hang out for a moment and just say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank
Thank you so much.
And again,